What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us at Candid Truth. We're going to talk about the truth, and we're going to get candid with it. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're going to look at everything that the church doesn't want to talk about, that people think are controversial topics. We're going to look at that stuff. And right now, we're going to look at, is it crazy to question mainstream media? When the mainstream propagandists put things out in the news, does it make you crazy or insane or conspiracy theorist to question what the mainstream media feeds us? I don't think so. I think as rational thinking, logical thinking people, we need to look at what the mainstream media puts out and say, is it true? There's a saying that says, don't believe everything you hear and only believe half of what you see. That statement is becoming more true than we could have ever imagined with AI and just deception beyond all belief. Jesus said, when the disciples and everybody was asking, what will be the signs of your coming? He said, let no man deceive you. We're in the days of deception. So I want to just show why I question things, why I question mainstream media, why I question the official story when this stuff comes out. I'm not going to be specifically addressing a recent event, but I have questions. I see things and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem to add up. You know, how does a 20-year-old get into an event with a weapon and the Secret Service doesn't see him even when everybody's pointing him out? And, you know, how can you get grazed by an assault rifle bullet and still have your ear intact? Why are you wearing a bandage when you should have your ear stitched up? I mean, you're supposed to, when you get stitches, I never had a bandage. When you get a bandage, you're supposed to take it off after a day or so to let that air out. I have questions. I don't think it's wrong to ask questions. I don't think it's crazy to ask questions. I don't think it's insensitive. Any of these things, it's very smart. It's an intelligent thing to question everything, scrutinize everything. I think we should all do that. I'm going to show you a couple of things from the past that were in mainstream media that I have questions about. Reasons why I'm so skeptical when it comes to big events or mainstream media telling us things or politics, all these things. Let's look at some examples of why I question things. You're watching Candid Truth, and we're going to be talking about fake news. Do you believe in fake news? I believe there is a such thing as fake news. So one thing, I'm going to try to sugarcoat, I'm going to try to code some of the things I say because I don't want this video to get flagged. YouTube censors everything. Google censors everything. When you start questioning things, these topics get censored, taken down, removed. I remember there was a time when you could search YouTube and you could search for these conspiracy theories and there's all kinds of videos out there. It was like a free speech world, a free thinking world where you could say, hey, yeah, that's right. That doesn't add up. Oh, look at this video. I never thought about that, but yeah, that doesn't make sense. And now those videos get scrubbed, they get removed, and they're called, I don't know, they're called dangerous. Dangerous, you know, it's dangerous to think these days. So one thing I thought was interesting about this event, I'm not going to say the name, but the event was a school, and there were children that were hurt, and you know, they died. I'm trying to say this as coded as I can so that this thing doesn't get pulled down. But you know the event I'm talking about. I'm showing you pictures of two events here. One was in Colorado, and it happened at a Batman movie. And this guy came in with a gun at a Batman movie. Now, the other side, on the right side, you see two parents of children victims at this school where there was a gunman that came in. Now look at that woman. The woman in the picture, who is the mother of one of the victims, looks just like the lawyer of the shooter at the Batman event. Am I crazy? Am I crazy for thinking that they look the same? Now there are such thing as these actors. I won't say this term either because this term will get flagged. But in these crises, there's these people that get hired, and they get hired to help do drills. And when they do these drills, I believe that these drills are getting recorded, and people do this. They do these jobs because they think they're helping police do training and things like that. And then these drills end up getting aired on national television. And are you going to believe some crazy person from this small town who says, no, that was a drill, I was in it? Or are you going to believe the giant of mainstream media, CNN, NBC, ABC, everything is telling you this is a real event? Are you going to believe that? Or are you going to believe this one person that says, I was there, I know it was a drill, right? So these events could be recorded and put on TV and told to us as real. That's not crazy to think about. Do we trust our government? Do we trust politicians? Do we trust the the leaders of this country or any other country? Which one was trustworthy? Was it Hitler? Was it Stalin? Was it Pharaoh? I mean, none of our leaders have been trustworthy. And I have these conversations with people all the time, and they say, look, I don't trust my government. Well, how come when I question it, you think I'm crazy? Or they say, I don't believe everything I see on TV. Well, how come when I point out these inconsistencies, you get triggered? Or you say I'm crazy or a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist? How can you say you don't trust the media, you don't trust politics, but then it's crazy to question it? It doesn't add up. I think it's just cognitive dissonance. So this is just one interesting thing I've seen, because I think this lady is one of these people that get hired at these drills and things. So then we see this father, and this father is the victim, or he's the father of a victim, and he lost his daughter the very day before. Just mere hours ago, 24 hours ago maybe, he lost his daughter. Now look how he reacts when he comes on to do this this interview on national television, and he's smiling and he's laughing and he says, are we ready to start? Or are we ready to begin? And then he gets into character. Watch this.
I assume he's going to come out to the microphones now and make a statement. Looks like the family is there, and they're getting ready to come to the microphone. So we'll listen in.
Are we ready to start?
Okay.
So my name's Robbie Parker. My family is one of the families that lost a child yesterday in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings here in Connecticut.
So he just lost his daughter yesterday. Look, I'm not trying to be insensitive. If this really happened, I'm so terribly heartbroken for this man. But we're going to see that there's a lot of questionable things that happen at this event, things that don't line up with what the mainstream media official story said. And when I see all the evidence that things aren't lining up, and then I see a guy who just lost his daughter yesterday and he says he's laughing, I get it. You can go on with your life maybe and within hours, but why is he getting into character? Why is he like, okay, and there's no tear, not a single tear. So why even put on the act? If you're really like already doing that well, why don't you just get up there and say, hey, you know what? I lost my daughter yesterday, and just be real with it. Why put on the act? All right, let's continue. You guys let me know in the comments. I want to know what you think. So Anderson Cooper, Anderson Cooper, I can't remember his name. Anderson Cooper, I think. Cooper Anderson. Anyway, he is at this, supposedly, he is at the funeral home of victims of this event, this school event. And when he turns his head, I want to say something to you. When he turns his head sideways, his nose disappears. I work with green screen. I know how green screen works. I've seen the glitches. I've never turned my head sideways and moved like this and my nose disappear with a real background. Now he turns his head sideways and his nose gets cut off as if he's on a green screen. I'm just looking at stuff. I'm seeing things. I'm not making it. I'm not trying. I don't want to believe that this is an act or a drill. I don't want to believe that, but I can't lie to myself when I see what I see. If I was watching a Hollywood movie and I saw a dude's nose get cut off, I would say, man, that was terrible editing. And I would question it. I would see it, I would recognize it, I'd point it out. Now I'm going to do the same here and watch this.
Is there anything else you want to say?
His nose is gone. For multiple frames, his nose is gone. Look at that. It's going to show it a couple times. His nose disappears. Here it is, nose gone. Did you see that? It's not just me, right? It's not just my eyes playing tricks on me. I'm just looking at evidence here. We're looking, okay, so father that is laughing and then kind of gets into character. Nose disappears when you're at a funeral as if you're on a green screen. The mother looks like she's the same woman as a lawyer in Denver at another event. Let's keep going. Let's see what's next. So as you can see here, the nose is missing completely. Half his nose is gone. Now, this guy, do you see anything interesting in this picture? For one, this guy says that he was at his house and the event happened and two children were sitting on his lawn saying, our teacher's dead and we can't go back to the school, our teacher's dead. And he came out and he offered the kids juice and cookies and he called their parents. He didn't call the cops, which is strange. Some people said, I was putting this stuff together. It was taking too long. I just want to get this message out there. But apparently he was actually in the event. Like you can see videos where he's at the school in the event, yet he's saying, I was just sitting at my house and these kids left the school, were sitting on my lawn, so that doesn't add up. But notice something interesting on a sign in the background. Everyone must check in. Why is there it takes time to bring in one of these glowing signs like this, type in the message, everyone must check in. Check into what? What are they checking into? This is why people think that this might be a drill. There's interesting things. You're going to see there's really interesting things, but I didn't even put some of it in here. Some of it was like all the students and parents that were around were wearing these lanyards, these colored lanyards, and there was like water bottles at the feet of the police officers, like they've been on the set of a movie waiting to shoot. Everyone must check in to what? This is an event. This is a crisis. Like, I'm trying not to say the words, but like an active, crisis. Now here we see kids lining up in the top left corner. You see a police officer escorting kids away from the school. Now this isn't a traumatic event, right? Like things are going down and she's hustling them out of the way. But then when you see another angle, these other two pictures, why do you see parents just standing there with their arms folded watching? How come the kids are in different orders? If you notice, this kid in the front here with the kind of mohawk hair, he's got blonde hair and this black shirt and blue jeans. In this other picture, he's right here, circled in red. He's in the back of the line now. So all the kids are out of order, like this was take two. And the parents are just watching, arms folded. I got questions. What's happening here? Now in this is very interesting because this was a helicopter view of the event going down, and you just see people aimlessly walking around. Whoever made this video is pointing at the people, how they go around the building and they come back through. It's just one big circle. It's like a director said, hey, I just need everybody just walk around the building and come through the building and walk out the door. But pay attention to that dude in the yellow. This dude in the yellow right here, look at him. He's walking towards a wall right now. And then he stops and turns this way. Oh, wait, I wasn't supposed to go to the wall. I was supposed to walk this way. And so he's walking. And now he's over here and he's aimlessly walking this way. Notice this kid in the yellow. Look, he's walking this way. Where is he going? He has nowhere to go. Aimlessly walking with his hands in his pockets. And so when you pay attention, you'll see that everyone is walking around the building and re-entering. They're re-entering right here. Look at this. They're coming back in through the building and out the building. What's going on here? Is that crazy to point that out? This is so mind-boggling to me. I don't know if everybody has seen this stuff. This is kind of old to me. I've been watching this kind of stuff since 2012. Since 2012, God opened my eyes, and I never could see the world the same again. I've seen symbolism in cartoons, and man, cartoons are pushing agendas and witchcraft and LGBTQ and all this stuff and satanic symbols. And it was like every time I saw a major event, not every time, but there were certain times that, like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, this just looks staged. And people are like, well, where's your evidence? You're just saying stuff. You're saying stuff without seeing anything. But I can't explain it. It's like watching wrestling and saying, this looks fake to me. Where's my evidence? I don't know. When he hit him, it didn't look real. Yeah, there's blood, but I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. God has given me eyes to see. He's given me discernment, and now I don't see the world the same way, and I question things I never questioned before. I was never a conspiracy theorist. I thought those people were crazy because the media makes them look crazy. Notice any movie or TV show you watch and somebody starts bringing up some kind of theory like that, everybody looks around like, oh yeah, he's nuts. He's lost it. But they're making it like the media also, movies and shows and cartoons and everything, make it look dumb. Like make it look like you don't want to be smart. To be smart is uncool. You're like Steve Urkel. No, you want to be like Beavis and Butthead. They're cool, right? But smart? No, you get shoved in the locker, made fun of, nerdy glasses. You know what I'm saying? This is propaganda to say it's not cool to be smart. And actually, you just want to, your mission in life is to go to that party, get drunk, get laid, and now you're cool. Just tune out, turn your brain off. That's what makes you cool, right? That's what the media says. And then when you question things, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. All right. So one interesting thing that anybody can do, the website for this school is listed at the bottom. Now you can use this website called the Wayback Machine, and it's web.archive.org. And when you look, notice there's a little bit of activity 2001 through 2007. There's activity, even in slightly in 2008. Because, people are going there to look at the schedule. When was that field trip? What's on the lunch menu today? What was my kid's homework? They're looking at the website. But then from most of 2008 to 2012, there is not a single visit, not one. That website is dead. And you know what? People say they think that school was shut down for asbestos, that they didn't allow anything to go on in that school because it was shut down. And then notice, look, activity, because this event happened in December 2012. And look, activity in 2013, because now people are interested. They're looking it up. What happened at this school? And there's all this activity after that. Isn't this interesting that there was zero activity at that school during those years? I got questions. We can't just turn a blind eye to this stuff. We're building up the case. There's a mountain of evidence going on. This is why I question mainstream media. This is why I question politics. This is why I believe there's an agenda to take away guns. How come every single time there's an event or a crisis, I don't know what words I can say. The shooter ends up dead every time. He's dead. Not brought in for questioning. What was your motive? How'd you get in? No questions can be asked. He's dead every time. Every event I can think of. And so there's no question. Case closed. That's it. That's done. So one of the kids was questioned on this talk show about what happened, and the kid literally says it was a drill. And you might can say, look, man, he's a kid, he's nervous, he just said something that didn't make sense. But okay, if this video was the only thing out there that didn't make sense, then okay. But he's adding to the mountain of evidence, right? Listen to what he says. He says, we were hiding under our desk. It was a drill. We were hiding under our desk.
Louis wanted me to ask you what you remembered from that day.
Yes. I remember that a lot of policemen were in the school. Well, a lot. I was like hiding under when we were having a drill. We were hiding under like.
All right, listen to that again.
When we were having a hiding under when we were having a drill.
We were hiding under. He's about to say we're hiding under the desk when we were having the drill. We were hiding under the desk.
Hiding under when we were having a drill. We were hiding under like.
Take your time. There's no hurry. Go ahead. Let me ask you, what would you like to say to your teachers?
He's asking the kid what happened that day. He's not saying, hey, you remember one time, a long time ago when you had a drill? What happened that day? And the kid says, when we were hiding under the desk, when we were having a drill, when we were hiding under the desk. I'm just asking questions here. What drill is he talking about? What's he talking about? All right, let's look at some more evidence. So there's a great documentary. You can't get it on YouTube, of course, but go to BitChute or Rumble and look up Sophia. I don't even know if I'll get shut down for saying her name. Small Storm. I'll separate the name. It's at the bottom written down there. She made this in 2013, months after the event happened. It's called Unraveling, and the words are on the screen. I'm not going to say the words. You watch that documentary. It's just over an hour. She's got damning evidence piled up that you have to ask questions. If you have a logical thinking mind, rational thinking mind, you have to question these things. Now, there was another event that happened in Orlando at a nightclub called Pulse. It's on the screen. Again, I'm trying not to say these words in like a coherent sentence because I don't want AI to flag this video and pull it down. But there was an event at a place called Pulse in Orlando, and some things went down there. Now, I'm showing you pictures of the sign because I want you to see what the logo looks like. Notice this pink sign with a P in a circle, a glowing sign, because there's some interesting things that happened during the news footage here. Notice they're walking this guy. He's injured. What is happening right here? What is this? Didn't this thing just happen in the club? And now you have the cop and someone else helping escort him back towards the club? Okay, that's strange. Maybe he's just one guy. Maybe he's one guy that happened to get that far down the road and now they're walking him back to the ambulance. I don't know, but it happens again. See, look at this guy. They're carrying this guy. He's shot in the leg and they're taking him back towards, there's the pink sign, back to the Pulse. Everyone is making their way back towards the club that this event happened at, where the thing went down. Like, why would you go back to that place? And why are there civilians helping other civilians? You see the cops everywhere. They're at both ends. There's like 30 cops there and ambulances and everything. Why are the civilians the ones helping? Now, in this clip, you're going to see something really interesting because when they carry this guy, they end up setting him on the ground and he's standing up like nothing's even wrong. And his friends, like, they're looking back. Watch this. They're carrying him. We just saw him. He got shot in the leg with an assault rifle. His leg is shattered, but they're standing him up. He ain't got no problems. And now this friend of his ends up turning to the camera, giving a thumbs up. Look, right here, he smiles and gives a thumbs up at the camera. Like, yep, I did it. We did it. We carried him down and we're on TV. Check me out. Like, is that not strange? Are these not strange things? Okay, so when I see events where it's like, yep, somebody came in and he used this type of weapon all the time. It's always this type of weapon, this assault type weapon. And there's always things being said after that, like we need to take these things away, right? Look, I don't even own one. I don't even own a gun, but I still believe in the freedom to own one, to protect yourself, to protect your family. When you start saying disarm the citizens, that's when bad things follow. I don't trust that. I don't like, and especially when you see that the official story doesn't line up. There's strange things, people wandering around in circles around the school, people acting, people doing all these things, and then they start saying, yeah, you know what, we need to get rid of these things. I'm trying not to say certain words, guys. All right, let's watch this clip.
So I don't know how, but by the glory of God, he shoots towards my head, but it hits my hand.
It hits his hand.
And then he shoots me again, and it hits the side of my hip.
All right.
Minutes later, he was shot a 4th time in the hand and a 5th in his left hip. CBS. Cullen said the gunman shot a girl next to him and then aimed for his head, but somehow only shot his hand and his hip. He only hit Angel in the hand and hip. Another bullet struck his hip and a 3rd hit his leg. Oh, but the bullet hit his hand, Cullen said. The gunman aimed at Cullen's head but wound up shooting him in the hand. Then he shot Cullen in the hip.
Look at his hand. Which hand? He's in the hospital room right now. Which hand was shot by an assault rifle or any kind of gun? Which hand? His hand is not in a, Trump got grazed and he's wearing a bandage. This guy got shot in the hand and he's fully functional. His fingers are moving. There's not a single thing. He's not wearing a brace, not a cast, not a bandage. He got shot in the hand over and over. He said it. Somebody even called. Somebody found the number to the hospital, called and said, I want to talk to Angel, and I won't say the name because I don't know what words are getting flagged here. He said the guy's name. They put him through, and he said, hey, you remember me? He didn't know the guy. He just said, hey, remember me from high school? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, remember the hat thing from high school? Just trying to lead him on. And he says, man, what happened? Where'd you get shot? And he said, in my hip and in my hand. He was saying it again, but there seems to be no injury to the hand. Just asking questions, man. So there is an amazing documentary called The Great American Psyopera. You can't get it on YouTube. You have to go to BitChute or Rumble. This thing is 4 hours long. He leaves no stone unturned. I already questioned the narrative, and I already believed it was an inside thing. But when I watched this, it blew my mind. It took it to the next level, where it was like some of this stuff was Photoshop. Some of this stuff was layered in with video editing programs. Man, I really don't like having to censor my own words, but you guys, I think you guys are following along. So check out this documentary. These are actually scenes from the documentary. And so I want you to question things. There were people that were interviewed. There were people on the streets right after it happened, news cameramen right up in their face and said, what happened? And they said, it was a bomb. And they said, bomb, we heard it was a plane. They said, no plane, bomb. There was firemen that said it was right above our heads. It was like boom, boom, boom. It was a bomb. Like there were people who were there who were not paid actors. They weren't news people. And they said it was a bomb. They denied the fact that there was planes. I'm just going to throw that out there because you're going to see some eye-opening stuff here that's really crazy. And remember, I make videos for a living. I make documentaries. I use After Effects. I use these special effects programs, green screen, all this stuff. I know how this stuff works. When I look at this, I see exactly what's going on, and I'm like, whoa, this is impossible to be real. This has, and you're going to see. You'll be able to see it too. Check it out.
Only 3 9/11 airplane videos are confirmed to have been shown live. ABC Chopper 7, Fox Chopper 5, and WPIX.
Okay, so at this event, there were only 3 footages that were live at the time. Everything else was shown the next day or hours later or something. But the only footage, okay, this is what I'm going to say. The only footage that was live that caught a plane entering into a building were 3. And there's something very unique about all 3 of these footages, and we're going to find out what it is. Notice the sky is supposed to be like really bright blue. Like these are news crew camera. They have great high dollar, top quality cameras. Why does this look so white? It almost looks black and white. This is purposefully done. This is when you get a camera out, you have to adjust the settings to make it, adjust to the ISO settings and all this to the lighting. And this was purposefully done where it was over contrasted, where it's literally like black against white. And this is not natural blue sky. This is faded. This is hazy. And you're going to see why it's done that way. So all the live shots had something in common. They were all high contrast between the tower and the sky. So the tower is dark and the sky is really light or white even. There's no panning or tilting or zooming. So all three of these live footages just happened to be tripod shot. They weren't handheld. They weren't moving. All of them they show an airplane path across the sky only. And it shows an airplane disappears across the straight edge, meaning the straight edge of the building, and the quote-unquote impact wall was hidden. So they're shooting it on the opposite side of the impact. So you're not actually seeing like a third-person view of a plane entering into a building. You're seeing it like you're behind the building and you're seeing the plane coming from the other side. And there were no shadows required, meaning on the building. So here he's going to break it down, what you can do with the footage like that, why you need high contrast, really light sky, dark building, because you're going to do a method called keying, and you can do it live. Notice, think about graphics on live footage. When you're a newscaster, you can put your name at the bottom. You can put scrolling text. All that's done live. This is graphics live. Think about the stuff we have now. We got Snapchat where you can have glasses on, you can have a wig on, all that stuff's fake, and it's tracking your face live. Now, this was a long time ago. I'm not saying it's that advanced, but I'm saying it's so easy to put a graphic on a live video, especially if it's just an image of a plane entering into the screen and then hitting a dark object. Check it out.
In video, a key is an effect that makes part of a video transparent based on some property, like color or brightness.
So he's explaining right now. Notice this black area. This is now transparent. This is a building as a top layer. So what that means is you could put a graphic of an airplane and it would actually go behind this building because this is transparent. You would see the airplane and then suddenly it would go behind this building because the building is the top layer. It's the top layer and all of this is transparent. So this is how this could have been done. And I'm going to show you evidence to prove to you that it was done this way.
Notice that when the two layers are back together, it looks identical to the original. Remember, it's actually two layers stacked up. To complete the illusion, the airplane layer is sandwiched in between the other two. Presto! If the airplane goes too far, oops, it looks like it comes out the back side.
So, the dark image, I don't know if this makes sense to people. To me, it just makes sense because I do Photoshop and Premiere and all this, but all of the white is transparent and these black boxes are on top. So if this plane were to go too far, it would look like it popped out the other side, but that's not possible, right? Because these buildings are made out of steel, like steel beams on the inside. It's layers. It's not like a hollow cardboard box. It's layers and layers. There's rooms and cubicles and it's steel beams, concrete, all that. It doesn't just pop out the other side unfazed. You realize that planes are made out of aluminum. The nose of that thing is hollow plastic. I'm going to show you evidence that shows you that those noses can't even withstand a duck hitting it or birds hitting it. So how in the world could the nose of that plane pop out the other side? It's physically impossible. Check this out.
A mask can be drawn on the airplane layer. The south tower is in the center of the frame. The left half of the screen is masked off. The airplane goes in, and we never see it again.
So what he's saying is, halfway down the screen, it's not transparent. This side of the screen is now not transparent. So when that plane goes behind this layer, it doesn't pop out the other side because it's hidden by this layer on top. I hope that makes sense, because this guy put so much graphical like illustration just to show you how it works. You know, people like us that do this all the time, we understand it anyway, but he broke it down. So here he's going to show that the helicopter is like 5 miles away. The building's already smoking, and yet this news crew is 5 miles away, and they're just now making their way to it. But he's setting up the shot. His camera is on a tripod. He's on a helicopter, but helicopters are pretty steady. He's zooming in, and he has his shot ready, and then bam, he adds the composite. He adds the key of the plane, but the helicopter does drift a little bit, and it drifts to the left, making that mask come undone, and now you see the nose of the plane pop out. When that happens, this cameraman thinks fast, and he goes to black screen, and then he comes right back. You're going to see all that.
You look at the picture from our chopper now arriving at the scene.
What is he talking about, arriving at the scene? The chopper is over the Hackensack River in New Jersey, 5 miles away. Why are they not headed toward what is already the news story of the year? Wait a minute, is something missing here? With the camera zoomed in, now it looks like the chopper is arriving at the scene. Seems that we weren't supposed to see that wide shot, and that's because there's no plane in it.
Notice in the wide shot, he's trying to get his camera ready for this mask. The mask that's halfway down the screen. He's zooming in, but notice there's no plane in the screen. All this area, and we're not seeing anything flying into the screen. And then all of a sudden, when he gets into position, now that would be simple to reverse engineer that. You can literally reverse that footage at the same rate of speed and see where that plane should have been in the screen. And he does that. This guy breaks it down, I'm telling you. So here's where they're going to scale it.
By adjusting the scale and position of every video frame, matching the speed of the airplane, and working backwards, we can determine where the plane should be earlier. The plane should be visible for over 5 seconds. That's 340 separate images, and there is no plane.
So you see that, right? Like there's no plane there. So I have to ask these questions. I'm looking at the physics. I'm looking at like, okay, it just sounds crazy to say, look, on live television, they composited the plane, but why is it a tripod shot? Why is there only 3 that are catching this? You know, I get it. It was a live event. Only 3 people caught it, but all of them are on a tripod. All of them are over contrasted to where it's black and white. All of them are facing away from the impact area. And here in the wide shot, there's no plane. So you have to ask, why? Why was there no plane? Things are starting to add up, but they're not adding up to what the story was.
The nose of the airplane appears to pop out the backside of the tower. Exactly the problem that could occur with live compositing.
So what happened was he had the shot ready. This cameraman had his shot, a money shot. But then as he was sitting there waiting to add that composite of the plane, the helicopter drifted just a bit to the left, or to the right actually, to where the middle mask wasn't there anymore, and the nose popped out the other side, to which he goes straight to a black screen after this. How can a nose pop out undamaged? Through layers and layers and layers of metal and steel and concrete, it can't happen. Here's where the mask is down the middle of it. Now watch how the helicopter drifted, and that's why you see the nose.
Helicopters cannot hold still. They drift. The shot begins okay, but the camera drifts far enough so that the back edge of the tower is now outside the mask area.
And then the camera goes black, and then it comes back. The cameraman reacted. Why is there a black screen? Why does it go black? Notice when it goes black, it wasn't the live feed cut out, because look, all the stuff is here on the screen. You see all the watermarks. This was on the cameraman's side. And so when he drifted, see this line right here should have been in the center of this building. But because it drifted over here, now you're actually seeing the nose pop out, and he has to react quick and go to black screen and then come back to the explosion. Has anybody heard this stuff? Anybody ever seen this stuff? Is anybody like thinking, man, I never even questioned this stuff, but now I'm starting to ask questions? I believe we need to ask questions. Jesus said we're going to be living in the most deceptive time in human history. Now with AI and all these things, you can fake a voice, you can fake a video. I could literally take a picture of my house and tell this program, a free program, Luna, make my house on fire, and my house would be on fire. And I could tell the world that my house caught on fire, and I could start a GoFundMe, and I could make thousands of dollars based on a lie. Deception. What kind of danger are we in when the media has access to this type of technology? And they're already doing it. I believe that the deception has already been happening for years, even as far back as the moon landing. Don't get me started. How fake that looked. How so many things did not add up with that. So as far back as 69, at least, they've been faking things in the media and giving it to the public as real. Now, he's going to show you, because maybe somebody says, well, maybe it's not even maybe it's not the nose of the plane. Maybe it's, just some debris popping out the other side. Well, he takes frames from this, from the plane entering into the screen. He cuts out the frames, and then he compares it to...
3 of them are the nose of the airplane before it goes into the building. 3 are the nose coming out of the building.
Now, you can't even tell a difference. When he compares them all side by side, they look identical. Why? Because it is. Because that is the composite plane popping out the other side that came out the mask that was never supposed to be shown. But people, this is cognitive dissonance. Nobody can ask that question. Nobody will even believe that there was no planes. They think, if anything, maybe there was some, I don't know. Maybe they'll question some part of the narrative. But are we even questioning enough? Honestly, it's like, whoa, it's way deeper than we ever expected. Now listen to what these guys say.
Watch how the aircraft penetrates the building. Completely in one side and out the other.
Just to be sure, there it is. There it is. The plane went right through the other tower of the World Trade Center.
So these guys are saying it. They're saying, hey, that plane went through the building. But that's not possible. We're going to show you why not. Why is it not possible? Because that nose is made out of plastic. It's hollow. Check this out.
Not designed to withstand any sort of collision.
That nose cone there is made of plastic, and it's very easily indented. They think that a bird hit that nose cone, which again is made of plastic. It's hollow inside.
It would have had to go through 2 sets of steel box columns.
It's obviously possible because it happened. Whether or not it can be sufficiently explained is another issue. There's a lot of things in life that can't be, fully explained.
So that footage of that newscaster was not about this event. He's just saying in general, hey, a plane had its nose crushed in by some birds, and he's explaining what a plane's made out of. He's like, that nose is hollow plastic, and birds can literally punch it in. What would layers and layers of steel and concrete do to an aluminum plane? For one, those wings would have peeled straight back. It would have, maybe the long cylindrical part would have went in, but the wings would have went peeled right back. Yet we see a hole in the shape of a building like this is some cartoon physics, like Roadrunner or the Coyote, when he crashes through a rock and you see every hair and everything. It doesn't happen. That stuff would have peeled right back, but it didn't. It entered in like butter or like a CG effect. This is the building. Notice it's made out of layers and layers, all the way from the inside core all the way out. How in the world could an aluminum and plastic plane punch through every layer of that and pop out the other side unfazed? Like, it literally looks the same as the frames that it entered into. He showed frames before it hit the building and after, and they look identical. This is what a duck can do to a nose of a plane. Notice this says, this was an article, it said, wrecked. The Airbus 320's windshield and cone were severely damaged during the hailstorm over eastern Colorado. The plane is pictured at Denver International Airport, where it made an emergency landing. It had to make an emergency landing because of hail. Literally just ice balls falling from the sky destroyed this plane, and yet we believe that the plane went all the way through a building of steel and concrete like butter, popped out the other side with nose intact. This was some basketball players took pictures of a plane that got damaged while they were like in it, and Washington Post said, Thunder players safe after plane has run in with a bird. Or was it Superman? Because they're like, man, look at that damage. It looked like Superman just punched it in the nose. But this is just what birds do. Because the velocity of the plane, the fragility of the what the plane is made out of, it cannot withstand birds, let alone layers and layers of concrete and steel. And then what's interesting is when you look at the exit hole, notice we saw the nose pop out right here, right? The picture shows it popping out, but this is the exit hole with beams still intact. How does a plane pop out and the beams are still intact? Did it come out like grated cheese on the other side? Like, come on, we have to ask questions. Don't let people make you feel crazy for asking questions. Don't let people make you feel like you're insensitive or some conspiracy theorist just because you look at a tragic event and you say, wait a minute, this doesn't line up. This is journalism. This is like rational, logical thinking. We need to do that. When we went to school, you would do something and there was like a question at the end that said critical thinking. Yet now we're told don't think. Shut your brain off and believe what the TV says. Here, take some medication and stay doped up on weed because now weed's legal and alcohol. We want you to just stay doped up and just believe the media, believe the fear, and just buy into it all and stay in your house and mask up because it's a scary world out there. It is a scary world out there. I'm not going to deny that. But this is fear propaganda. Don't be afraid to question.
There was no exit wound. There are 0 broken columns in this area. Any sort of solid object is ruled out.
So here's a smoking gun. So I'm talking about like how video editing works and all that because that's how my brain understands it. I understand it. If I had a handheld camera and my camera is moving a little bit like this, and I added a smooth flowing plane, what would happen if I stabilized that footage? Think about it. There's a little bit of motion and a smooth plane. If I used a program and stabilized the footage where the footage looks still, what would that plane be doing now? That plane would now be matching the motion of the handheld camera, because now everything is still, and so that smooth flowing plane would now be like bouncing along. This is the smoking gun, nail in the coffin. You can't deny this stuff. Here it is. He took the footage and he stabilized it. The top is the handheld camera. Notice the buildings are drifting and moving, and that perfectly smooth flowing plane was added. Now here's the footage that was stabilized. Notice the buildings are not moving at all. They're stationary, but everything else seems to be moving because it's been stabilized. What is going to happen to that plane now? The top plane is going to look smooth because it was added, and it's smooth flowing on that handheld camera. But now here's the stabilized footage. Look at the plane. That plane is jittering and bouncing all over the place. You cannot deny this. This is 100% proof that at least that footage was manipulated. You can't deny it. When you see that, you can't fake that. You can't deny it. It was literally faked. That plane was added later. So, like I said, this stuff's been going on for a while. It goes back to the moon landing. There were some issues with what happened in Boston that didn't line up. There's all this predictive programming in The Simpsons and comic books and movies and everything. Ninja Turtles. So many times these events were put in there. Even what happened in Boston. I have the box set of Family Matters. If you guys remember Steve Urkel, I just made reference to him. And in a Family Matters episode, Carl Winslow, the dad, was trying to catch the Boston Marathon bomber. The Boston bomber. Predictive programming. When the pandemic happened, there were some fishy things that happened in that. There was footage that showed lines of people waiting to get seen in a tent. And yet people were going out there in New York saying, there ain't nobody here. It is a ghost town out here. He'd walk in the hospital and nobody's in there. And doctors are so bored that they're dancing and making TikTok videos. But the news was saying, look, there's masses of people out here. This is a crazy pandemic going on. And then there was even footage of dummies on gurneys. Like there were literally, I wish I had time to add all this stuff. There's so much out there. And it's so hard to find now. That's the thing. It's so hard to find. You got to look on BitChute. You got to look on Rumble. But I remember seeing that they'd show a hospital room and you just see a plastic dummy there, like with his mouth open. And then you'd see footage of one hospital and they would say that hospital was at another place, a different location. They'd show the same footage and say it was different places. There's so many reasons why I don't trust the mainstream media. And I feel like I have to make a video like this now because I mentioned that I believe politics is like a wrestling match. That it's all staged, that your vote doesn't matter. That there are people higher up than the quote-unquote president that are running the show. I noticed this when I was in high school. I didn't care anything about politics. I never wanted to vote or anything. I wasn't a conspiracy theorist by any means, but I realized even in high school that no matter who wins, nothing ever changes. I noticed that people, Christians and stuff, were saying, I vote Republican because I'm anti-abortion. I said, guess what? George Bush is a Republican and abortion's still legal. Both Bush Sr., both W. Bush, I never saw anything change. So there is an agenda. There's a goal that Satan has for this world, and it is to bring about a one world religion, a one world order, a one world currency, a new world order. And that agenda is playing out before our very eyes. And what they do is they do a 2 steps forward and a 1 step back. So what they do is they'll give you the illusion of freedom. Oh yeah, your vote counts. Get out there and vote. They put all this propaganda out there. Get out and vote. Because they know if nobody votes, then they're going to look pretty suspicious when the next president comes out. But what they do is it's this pendulum swing. I've noticed it ever since I was a kid. The first president I remember was Bush Sr., Republican. Then it was Bill Clinton, Democrat. Then it was Bush W, Republican. Then it was Obama, Democrat. Then it was Trump, Republican. Notice the pendulum swing. So what happens is they put somebody in office, this Democrat, and as the Republicans are getting so angry, something needs to change, before an uprising happens, they say, okay, give them what they want. Give them the Republican Party. And now the Democrats, they're like, well, we lost, whatever. And then year after year, they're steaming. They're getting more ticked off. And they're saying, right before an uprising happens, give them Democrat. And it's this pendulum swing. Nothing changes. Maybe something changes. That's what I mean by 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So they're unrolling their agenda. It's the Patriot Act. You have no rights. You get TSA, all this stuff. That happened at 9/11. Then it was the NDAA Act, where you can be detained for any reason at all. They don't need any reason. You can be taken and taken off to a camp somewhere. That's real. NDAA, that was signed when Obama was in. And they put these things into action, and then 2 steps forward, and then if we get really mad, they'll say, okay, we'll take that little thing back. You guys win. We'll take one little thing back, but they're still making progress. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Pendulum swing, Democrat, Republican. And so, according to Bible prophecy, and what we understand is coming, a one world religion, how can that happen? This is what the majority of the Christian world misunderstands. I grew up in non-denominational Christian world, and they are looking for a one-man antichrist to come on the scene, and he's a president that just hates Christians. He just hates the Bible, and he hates Christians. But in reality, the Antichrist is going to look so much like Christianity that millions of Christians are going to be deceived. Do you think Christians are going to be deceived by a one man who hates Christians? No, it's going to be all this coexist. Let's just get along. Look, the protest is over. There's no such thing as Protestants and Catholics anymore. We're all Catholic because Catholic means universal. We just come together. Hey, you believe in Allah and Buddha, and I believe in Jesus. And look, we all believe in some kind of faith. Let's just unite. But we can't just compromise truth. Truth is truth. 99% truth is not truth. So coexist doesn't work, and coexist is what Satan actually wants. He wants a world where we all just, well, you're a little different than I am, but it's okay, you'll get into heaven. And so how is this going to come about? We need a Republican, a very right-wing Republican leader that's going to say, we need to get this country back to God. Look, all these documentaries are coming out now that are saying that Nickelodeon and all these kids' programmings are actually harming kids. I think that's a great thing that this stuff's coming out, being exposed, but Jesus said this would happen, that no secret thing would not be exposed. And so everything's coming to light. You got Epstein, you got all this stuff coming to light, and you got all these groups, I'm talking about, these minority groups, the alphabet people, and it's getting worse and worse. You go to these events and they got kids out there now, and they're throwing money at them like it's a strip show for kids. And the world is getting so sick that the population, the masses are primed and ready for a savior. We need God. This country needs to get back to God. And what is Trump saying? Make America pray again. Make America pray again. Make is force. You can't make somebody pray. But that's his slogan, make America pray again. And now, how can you get this super right-wing superhero into office when so many people seem to dislike him and all these celebrities hated him? Well, this event made him look like a messiah. Now you got prophets out there saying, yeah, I prophesied this event to a T 3 months ago, and in the prophecy was that Trump was going to surrender his life fully to God because he came so close to death. And now people believe, well, if he wasn't a Christian then, he is now for sure. And he's going to save this country, and he's going to make America great again, and he's going to make America pray again, and he's going to bring this country back to God. And this is exactly what the Bible says is going to happen. There's going to be a forced worship. There's going to be forced by law. When you read Revelation, it says that those who do not worship the beast, which is the government system and his image, they will be killed. And so we need, according to prophecy, We need some really right-wing person to get in. And who is that prime candidate? Right now, I think it's a no-brainer who's going to win. I might be completely wrong, but what I'm saying is your vote doesn't matter. This has already been set up from the beginning. This is prophecy, and we need to start living like the Bible's real. We need to start living like Revelation is true and Jesus is coming soon. And I want to be ready when he comes. I want my friends and family to be ready. I want them to not be deceived. People think this is like, why are you wasting your time talking about this? Why are you talking about what the devil's up to? And why? Because I care about people falling for deception. Do you not care about people falling for deception? That's what the Bible's all about. Let no man deceive you by any means necessary, even if it means getting on camera and looking like a fool in some people's eyes. If I plant a seed in somebody's mind to make them start questioning things, to make them think maybe the Bible's real, hey, maybe this guy's onto something. Or when things start to happen, they'll say, wait a minute, I heard a guy talking about this. I heard some guy say that there was going to be this right-wing dude that's going to try to force worship. Let's use this outlet while we can. It's already being censored like crazy. Watch your words when you're on here, but put this stuff out there and warn people. Jesus is coming soon. I believe it 100% with all my heart. I just started this ministry with my wife. It's called Candid Truth. I need your support. We stepped out in faith so we could help my parents and be closer to home. And we just want to get this message out there. I want to keep putting videos out like this, not always like this, but this was the topic that I thought was important right now. And when I see this guy was shot with a assault rifle. His ear is intact. I'm wondering what this strange, shiny capsule looking thing is. It might not be nothing, but it does resemble this blood capsule down here. What I'm saying is I got questions. Dude is wearing a bandage on his ear. And this is why I question things, because of all the stuff I was showing you. If you want to support this ministry in any kind of way, we got Cashapp, we got Venmo, we got Zelle. We're working on the website right now, and I'm going to try my best to get to a point where I'm putting out multiple videos a week, reacting, reviewing, talking about how what's going on in this pop culture, what's going on in politics, how it applies to Bible prophecy, where we're at in Bible prophecy, and just how close we are to Jesus coming soon. I believe with all my heart. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps in the algorithm. Help this channel grow. Click a little subscribe action for me. Click the notification bell and share this with all your family and friends. There's going to be more videos coming out. And I love you. And I thank you for being here. I thank you for your support. God bless. We'll see you next time.